And Brownfield anchor reporter Meghan Grebner. With us is Joe Vassios with UPL. Thank you for taking some time to talk with us this afternoon or this morning.
Thank you for the invite, Megan. Look forward to chatting with you about some of the new tools from UPL.
And we are going to talk about a new tool offered from UPL, or a new platform recently launched. Talk to us about Crop S.A.F.E and what it is.
Okay, so Crop S.A.F.E, the S.A.F.E is an acronym for the Smoke and Fire Events Platform. So this is a new online tool that UPL developed in cooperation with a digital partner that we have called Sixth Grain. This tool is meant to help growers, initially targeted for the West Coast, where the wildfires have been such a big issue, and there have been issues with crop quality and worker safety, just with all the smoke that is out there. So this tool uses a lot of different data sources, including weather stations and then also satellite data, to try to give growers, producers, advisors a real-time look at what smoke and fire conditions are doing in their local area. And then also, kind of beyond that generally available information that a lot of people see about air quality, it also tracks cumulative effects throughout the season. So they can say, this area may be seeing more impact of the smoke long-term through the season than, just a single snapshot in time. So really just trying to provide growers a tool to quantify what's going on and how wildfire smoke may be impacting their operations.
Joe, when we talk about this, we're looking obviously the western part of the United States. What impacts potentially does smoke have on crops when we talk about crop health, crop development as well? And is that something that you're taking into considerations, or producers should be looking at when it comes to utilizing the tool?
For sure. Yeah. So I think there's two main concerns right now. The first that's been more widely publicized is, especially with grape growers, is the possibility of smoke taint. So actually with that fresh grapefruit hanging on the vines with these large smoke events coming through, the possibility is there that these flavor compounds get into the grapes and actually can contaminate that and impact wine production. So that's one of the really direct effects on the crops. That's something that, they're still working to tease out how big of an impact that really has, but it does make a lot of people cautious in buying and selling grapes for especially wine production. Beyond that as well, you do have the issues that you can run into with growers and people working in the farms being exposed to these large amounts of smoke. So, especially right now, we're looking here mid-August, it's all out almond harvest right now. So there's people in the fields day in and day out. This really can give growers an idea of, which way smoke plumes are heading, how heavy smoke is in their area. Is it at unhealthy levels as well? So in addition to, direct impacts on the crops, it also can give them a little bit of insight into, how it might be impacting their operation and their workers as well.
So we talk about what we're looking for, or the benefits of utilizing the Crop S.A.F.E tool. Talk to me about how producers and how growers use it. What are some of the logistics they need to know about this offering?
So the tool is readily available. It's posted on the UPL website. So the website for it's going to be uplcropsafe.com. You can go in there, you can search for your location, and you're able to go in and look at, the current day, where the smoke plumes are, what temperatures have done, and then also this cumulative effect throughout the season, to really target that specifically to your field, to your farms, to your orchards, to see how that impact is there. I think there's several different ways that this can be interpreted. But I think, in general, we see the cumulative effects impacting, when am I going to harvest my crop? Am I going to try to avoid, the contamination the best I can? Or, help in making a decision if or what I want to actually harvest as well, in terms of what might have had excessive smoke exposure or something like that also. So really, just looking at all the different layers that it can provide to, make an informed decision about possible impacts on your crops.
Joe, the website then that folks can go to just to kind of catch them back up can be found where?
It's uplcropsafe.com.
So we're going to talk a little bit also about what's going on in the West and what we've been seeing. How concerning is it as we look at these severe heat and drought conditions that have been really have been so impactful to crops, to conditions and growing conditions in the western part of our country?
Yeah, and I think that we really see the effect of that in these continued wildfires, just from those hot, dry conditions. But definitely in the field, there's a lot of very direct impacts on growers of these high temperatures and especially the drought situation. So, California, it seems like almost every week right now, there's another announcement of new water restrictions going into place because the snowpack hasn't been there the last few years. Reservoir storage is dwindling in a lot of areas. So, for example, a lot of the growers that rely on the federally based Central Valley project here in California and also the state water project are getting greatly reduced or no water allocation for this year. So that led to a lot of the annual land being fallowed this year compared to what would normally be produced. Also, this leads to people having to buy water on the open market where they can get it, which is a greatly increased cost for them as well. So that really increases the cost of production to them as well. That was kind of going into the season. More recently, the state of California did announce that they're working towards an emergency curtailment, they call it, of the water rights as well. This is going to impact an estimated 5,700 different water users throughout the state, and that's heavily going to be ag producers on that as well. So, this is going to water rights that are some of the most senior in the state that really haven't been impacted. And this is only the third time that a move like this has had to been used in recent history. This is the third year where they've had to implement that just because the drought situation is so dire. So.
Joe, where we are in the Midwest, it's not something, water rights aren't a conversation that we have as much that happens in the West and in California specifically. How much does this potentially, knowing how much vegetable, fruit, nut production and food production just in general comes out of that state, how much does this potentially impact food supply on a big basis, on a large basis, when we look at some of those things that we enjoy in our part of the country?
Yeah, and I think that, just depending on the cropping system, you're going to see a different impact of that. The annual crops obviously are the most impacted right away. So your fruits, vegetables, we've heard a lot about cotton acres being down in California this year. Rice acres are down significantly. So, it's really forcing growers to prioritize acres for the allotted water that they have. So a lot of them are able to keep going, but it might be on fewer acres or it's going to be less intensive just because of that reduced water availability. So I don't know that the full effect has been felt yet, but it's definitely a tough decision for a grower to have to make when water is this short.
What are some other things that you hear from growers in your parts of the country as it relates to production and expectations for this cropping year, as well as looking ahead to 2022?
I think it's a little bit too early to say for next year. I know that there's already a lot of people kind of hedging their bets for next year in case we don't get a lot of rain and snow this winter. But the hope is still there that happens. I know that production will be down on a lot of those crops this year. I've seen some of the recent almond harvest forecasts, for example, that show, a majority of people will still be able to harvest, but at the same time that is going to be down from what they've seen in the last few years, a little bit at least. So, I think that everybody's kind of cautiously optimistic that they'll get through this, but again, there definitely is going to be an impact on that overall production.
Joe, anything else you want to touch on today?
I don't think so. I think the main thing to me is just making folks aware of the smoke and fire event tool that we do have right now. Something that as this continues to be an issue with these continued droughts in the West and the wildfires that we're experiencing right now, definitely is something that can be an important tool for growers to try to help quantify what's going on in their area.
Joe, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, Megan. Appreciate it.
I'm Meghan Grebner for Brownfield.